Okay, so today we'll move forward with starting a module which is HTML. So the topics that we'll be covering is basically our VS Code setup. Then what is HTML? We'll see the HTML boilerplate code, and we'll see some of the very basic tags of HTML in order to create a web page. So how many of you have already installed VS Code yesterday? Okay. Okay, great. I'll share a list of VS Code extensions. So before going ahead, if you are going to open your VS Code, it will look something like this. So this is your IDE, which we will be using in this course for the front end part. If you'll come over here, the fifth icon in your VS Code, you can see there are different extensions. Like in my case, I have installed 91 extensions on my VS Code. But in your case, you can get some basic extensions installed. I'll just share a list of those extensions with you. So first one is this auto close tag. Let me just copy paste this to here. First one is this auto close tag, this extension, which is basically just going to close all the HTML tags on its own. So let me also just create a simple file. I'll be using Command plus N since I'm on Mac OS. If you are on Windows, you can use Control plus N to get a new file like this. Then let's first save this file. So again, on Windows, it's going to be Control plus S, and on Mac OS, it's going to be Command plus S. Let's save this as our index.html, which we will be mostly using throughout our HTML module. So this is our HTML file. Now, what is a tag and why do we require this extension is altogether a different topic. We'll come to it when we'll start with the tags in HTML language. But as of now, just download these 5, 6 extensions which are here. First one is auto close tag, which is going to help us in auto closing the HTML tags that we have. Then we have a live server extension, which is again going to help us. I'll just demonstrate it to you when we are done with one of the basic HTML pages. Then we have HTML boilerplate, which is again one of the topics which we are going to cover today. So this extension is going to help us with the basic HTML code that we require in every web page. Then you have this prettier extension, which is for indentation purposes. Now, what is indentation? So how your code looks like in your code file that or let's say the spacing between your code is called indentation. So prettier extension is going to help us in making our code files look better to us so that we can understand it what we are writing. Then we have HTML CSS support, and then we have auto rename tags. So just download these VS Code extensions. They are going to be very, very helpful when we are going to get started with the coding part of it. Now, let's come back to what all our topics are for today. So we'll be starting with what is HTML. Now, before that, how many of you have actually uh, gone to different websites and clicked on inspect in your Chrome browser and just see what the HTML is there? Have anyone of you ever tried that? Okay, only one person have tried. Let me also show it to you. So let's say I have a website called, let's take the yesterday's example only. We had cbit.ac.in. Let's say this is our website. Now here, if we come over here and do a right click, you can see there is an inspect option in Chrome. Now, what does this help? This is basically going to give us the HTML template code that this browser has created for us to see this website. So every browser, as I explained yesterday, every website travels through that whole process of going to the internet, going to your web server, then returning with some basic files for your website, and then it basically lands that whole website into your browser. It do that with a set of templating. So if I'll click over here as inspect, you can see this whole file over here is a HTML file, and all the components are here combined into one HTML file, including the type of styling your website is going to have, the type of scripts, or let's say JavaScript related to your website uh, is going to have. So this is your HTML content over here. Now let's say I want to find this. Let's come over here. Let's inspect. So this is an image. You can see there is an image tag. We'll deep dive into all of these HTML tags. But as of now, just understand how you can play around with, the HTML part of websites on your browser. So this is an image. Let's say I want to change this image to something else. So I can come over here. I can just simply change the source of the image. And let's say I want to have a cloud picture over here. I'll come over here in the images. Let me copy the link. So I'll copy image address. And if I'll come over here, you can see I have replaced the image. So before there was this notice that was being displayed over here. Now I have just tampered with the HTML in my browser, and you can see that notice is not there. Instead, we are able to see a different image whose link I have put in the HTML part. So just to make you understand it a bit better, let's come back to our yesterday's thing. You remember this whole process where we just get all our web content on the website, which is the web server. Now here, for example, this website that we took yesterday, it our request reaches the internet and it goes to the web server. The web server returns with three files. In the most basic case, it will return with three files. First one is your HTML. Second one is going to be your CSS file. Second one is going to be your CSS file. And the third one is going to be your JavaScript. Where is this? And if we come over here, the third one is going to be your JavaScript file. All these three files clubbed together is sent over the internet. Now the browser compiles all the three files into one file, or you can also come over here, expand this inspect module. You can click on console. So this is basically your console of JavaScript of this website. Again, this is a whole together another module, but just to give you a little bit overview of the inspect element of your Chrome browser. If we click over here in the sources, you can see there is only this index file which is there, which is a combination of your CSS and your HTML that's been written. This is your CSS code and this is your HTML code. This is all the other website links that this HTML page is having, which is it is taking the fonts from Google. Then it's taking different kind of images from a folder. So here you can see the cloud that I just changed in the HTML code. This image is rendering over here as a source to render this website. Then we have Font Awesome. This is again one of the most widely used utility for different kind of icons. So let's say I have this 3 lines over here. This is an icon. So to render icons, we can use Font Awesome. Then there is a lot more about, different things. This is your content. This is your different plugins, themes. What are all the images? This is one of the images. This is again another images. So this is how you can basically dissect the HTML code of any website that you want in your browser. Now, the catch to this is I have changed this image, right? Let's make it back over here. Where is that image? So I have changed this image in my browser, right? But as soon as I'll refresh this page, that image is now gone and it's again coming up with the previous notice that we had. That's because the changes that we did in this HTML code is on our browser only. So we did the changes in our local system. And as soon as we refresh this website, what happens is we come over here in this process. And then again, as soon as I refresh this website, this process goes again. A new request is created. It goes to the server. It comes back with a fresh set of copy of the files which the website is made up of, and it renders it on our browser. So whatever the change that we did over here is our local change that is not sent to the web server. That's why as soon as we refresh it, it's again, the same website that it was previously. Is this part clear to you, or do you have any kind of doubts in this? Let me know. Just give me a second. Okay. So is this part clear to you? How to just dissect around the HTML of different websites and play around with the text? Everyone is clear with this? Okay. So this is again one of the ways how you can also let me write the website first. This is again one of the ways how you can play around with people who are not familiar with HTML. So this is a website called TechCrunch, which contains most of the tech news around the world. So you can come over here, you can click on this inspect element. Here you can say, okay, let me just refresh this. You can come over here, you can click on this inspect element. Let's expand this. It is showing a link of the article. Let's come over here. Let's click on inspect here and let's find this uh, heading. So to find the heading or to find the code, HTML code of any element inside the website that you want to dissect, you can click on this small arrow in the inspect element and you can come over here. And as soon as I click over here, this highlighted this H1 tag. Now, what is an H1 tag? We'll just cover that in today's session only. But this is the text that is here as the heading. So instead of this, you can write anything that you want. Let's say I have just deleted what the text was. Wait, let me refresh this. Give me a line of text that you want me to replace that article with. Anything that you want me to to replace that with. Put it in the chat box. Anyone who want to volunteer anything? Or let's come over here. Let's say, let's find a quote. Let's come over here. Let's copy this quote. Let's come over here in the HTML and replace the text of the title with the quote that I have just copied and click on enter. Now you can see this title is changed to whatever I have just put. So this is again, as I was saying, this is one way of doing some small harmless pranks with the people who are not aware with HTML. So you can replace this title with anything related to you, that you are going to do this or you are going to do that, and you can just send them a screenshot or anything. So that's how most people play around with HTML. This is one fun part about the websites that we are going to have on the internet. So now coming over here, before moving forward, just let me know if this part is clear to you. And if you have any doubts also, you can unmute and ask. So there is no issues in that. Okay. So let's come over here. Now let's move to a simple analogy of understanding the different modules that we are going to cover in this course in correspondence to the websites that we are going to build. So let's say you have this house. Now, how are you going to relate HTML, CSS, and JavaScript with respect to a website? As I told you yesterday also, that most of the things that we have on a website on the textual format is based on HTML. Then CSS is the designing part of it, and JavaScript is the functional part of it. Like if we come back to yesterday's example, Airbnb, here the way these photos are being visible to us is by CSS. The text that is written over here, amazing pool, amazing views, sorry, yeah, the text that is written over here, amazing pool and amazing views and all, is coming from HTML. And the moment I'll click over here and click on login, and all the background functionalities that's going to happen, that can be done by JavaScript. So coming to this, there is an analogy to understand, or let's say remember it better, is that let's say instead of a website, I want to build a house. Then HTML is my structure. The kind of paints, or let's say the kind of way I want my house to be visually appealing, is my CSS. And the different kind of functionalities inside of the house is, let's say, electricity, water pipeline, and everything, that is done by our JavaScript. So your HTML is your layout or the basic structure of your house, or let's say your website. CSS is going to help you in styling and designing. Guys, just give me 1 second. I'm getting a call. Meanwhile, if you have any doubts, please put it in the chat box. Yeah, coming back to our analogy, your HTML is your structure, your CSS is your styling or your designing, the way you want to, uh, the way you want to present it to the user, the UI interface that I was talking about yesterday, intuitive UI, that is done by the help of CSS. And if it includes more functionalities, then we have JavaScript. So JavaScript is the functionality or the user behavior that we want to mimic on the website. Is this small analogy clear to you? So if I may ask, what is responsible for the structure of the website? HTML. Okay. And what helps us with the functionality of a website? JS, correct. And again, what helps us in styling or let's say making our website visually appealing? Yes, CSS. So this is a very small analogy or example you can keep in your head while referencing to anybody else about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and also while building your own projects. Now, coming over here, let's get to what is HTML. So, how many of you are already familiar or let's say have heard the term HTML? Two people, I think. Okay. Can any one of you give me the full form of HTML? Anyone? If you know the full form, then can you please tell all of us? Yes, hypertext markup language. So now let's come back to what this whole language, or let's say how it started. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, which was developed by Tim Berners, and he was a British computer scientist. So it's basically his invention. Now, he is often credited as the founder of the HTML, and he created this language while working at a European organization for nuclear research. Now, this is just very theoretical knowledge. You guys do not need to remember it, but just for the sake of having uh, an information about where it started and by whom it started, this comes into the picture. So. Uh, his development was the fundamental creation again because the world wide web is your www. That is here. Let's say if I come over here, this www is your world wide web. So this HTML creation basically revolutionized this uh, by giving the access of creating web pages to everyone. Now coming over here, there are different versions of HTML throughout its evolution. The first version came into 1991 with basic structuring like headings, paragraphs, and links. Then we have the HTML 2.0, which came into 1995, which gave us the features of elements and text alignment. Then we had a version called 3.2 in 1997, which gave us the support for tables and text flows throughout the whole web page. Then we have 4.01, which came in 1999 and was standardized for the existing features throughout the whole World Wide Web. It also introduced its support for scripting language, which like JavaScript is a scripting language. We'll come to it when we'll start that module, but as of now, just understand what we learned about it, that it is there for the functionality and the behavior of the website. Then we have XHTML, which is another version of HTML, which came in 2000. It was extensible hypertext markup language, and it's also known as XML applications. Now, there is a difference between HTML and XHTML. We'll come to it, but let's come back over here. Then there is the latest version of HTML5 by 2014, which also had some significant advancement, and will be mostly focusing on to this HTML5, which contains all the previous evolutions. Now, again, this evolution part is also something that you do not need to remember. Nobody is going to ask you this in your job interviews. The only thing you need to remember is how the things are working in HTML, how we are going to build the web pages, and what tag stands for what kind of functionality. So, is this part clear to all of you? Okay, great. So, let's come over here. Now, the next part is the thing that we need to focus on while also, building our projects. This is also going to help us in landing interviews, and also in many interviews people can ask questions related to HTML tags. This is one of the most important topic in HTML, since HTML is a language based on tags. Like if we come over here, you can see all these blue highlighted, let me make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, all this blue highlighting over here, which is HTML, then there is a head, then there is a body. Inside of the body there is a tag, then you have div, then inside of the div you have another div. All these things are just your HTML tags. So your HTML is built upon tags, the concept of tags. So we'll get started with that. Now there are two types of tags in HTML. First one is with a closing tag, and the second one is a self-closing tag. The closing, I'll also demonstrate it over here. Let's come. So after you have installed your VS Code extensions, you can come in your HTML file and just type one exclamation mark. This code that is highlighted over here is called emit abbreviation. This is going to help us with the basic HTML boilerplate. So this is your basic HTML boilerplate code. This comes from this extension that I have shared with you, this one. Where is it? Yeah, the HTML boilerplate. Okay, so download that in your VS Code. Now let's come to the concept of types of tags. Don't worry, I'll explain everything that's written on this page. But before that, let's first understand what is a tag and what are the types of tag. So in HTML, anything enclosed in these angular less than and greater than signs is called a tag. Here you can have, let's say I have an image tag, and let's take a paragraph tag. Don't worry, I'll understand, like I'll explain this p and images and everything, but as of now just understand the concept of tags. So there are two types of tags. First one is your paired tag, which comes with a closing tag. So this is a paired tag. You have a opening tag of paragraph, and then you have a closing tag of a paragraph. The opening tag is just with the greater than and less than sign, and your closing tag also contains a slash just before the name of your tag. So the first kind of tag is your paired tag, which is there with us with a opening tag and a closing tag. This is the opening tag and this is the closing tag. Now second type of tag that is there is called singular or self closing tag, which is you do not need to explicitly close this tag for it to work in the HTML. If I want, I can just add a slash over here, and this tag will work as this one because it's a self closing tag. So if I'll cut it from here and paste it here. So there are two types of tag. First one is a pair tag, which comes in a pair of a opening and a closing tag. And the second one is a self-closing tag, in which we do not need the closing tag explicitly. Instead of it, we can just have a slash over here just before we close the tag. Let me come over here. So this is also demonstrated in the slide. You have the opening tag, then you have some kind of text or anything that tag is doing, and then you have the closing tag for that corresponding opening tag, which can give you your content or anything that you have written inside of it. This is a paired tag, and your singular tag is the one which does not need to be explicitly closed like this. Now this is an HR tag. So if we come over here, Images is one tag, and then there is an HR tag, which is also self closing. Then there is a BR tag, which is also self closing. Don't worry if you don't understand the meaning, we'll cover them one by one. But these are some of the examples of self closing tags. And we have paragraphs, then we have headings, then we have div. So these are some of the examples of paired tags. Is the concept of paired tags and singular tags clear to all of you? If you have any doubts, please unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can put it in the chat box. Guys, is this part clear to all of you? Or do you want me to re explain it? Just let me know. Okay. I'll wait for one more minute in case you have any kind of doubts in this tags part, and then we can move forward with understanding the basic boilerplate code of HTML. Okay, guys, let's move towards the topic. So, we have again the opening tag and the closing tag. This is again another demonstration. I'll be sharing the slide with all of you along with this Excalibur drawing calendar so that you can understand. And if we manage to write some code today, I'll also be sharing this HTML file with all of you. So coming back over here to the slides, we have the definition of a self-closing tag and the definition of the pair tag. A traditional tag comes with a pair. So again, the paragraph, div, there is one more as section and all. Now, these tags are not something that we create on our own. So HTML gives us, a manual on which it contains all the tags with their meaning. So it's not like I can come over here and create any kind of tag, because that's not how it's going to work. HTML has a pre-written set of tags, so we can only use that. Whereas, if you remember, I was talking about XML, right? On in XML, you can create your own tags. You can give your tags any name, and then based on that, it interprets your code accordingly. So let's come over here. Wait, is huh. So, okay. So again, this is some more definition of the self-closing tag. It contains the same thing that I have explained previously. Some few self-closing tags are again input is there. There is HR, BR, image, etc. Self-closing tags are also known as empty tags, since they do not need to contain some kind of content. Now, what do I mean by content? Let's say if I want to print something, let's remove this. So the tags which are a pair tags, we can put any kind of content in between them. Whereas if we are writing a self-closing tag, then in that case, we are not allowed to give any kind of content. So this title that is written over here as a document is going to be visible to us. Whereas if we are using this HR tag with a self-closing thing, then we are not able to write any kind of content here, because that's not syntactically correct. So most of the self-closing tags do not allow us to give any kind of written content to the browser. So that's why they're also called empty tags. Then let's come to the HTML boilerplate. So HTML boilerplate is this same code that we have seen over here. Let me remove this. Okay, now what does each of these line means? Let's go to them one by one. So there is a doc type HTML, then you have the HTML tag, which is the whole wrapper of your web page, wrapper of your that particular HTML file, which will contain everything that you want to put it inside of the HTML tag. So you have this doc type HTML, then you have this HTML tag. There is attribute also. Now the concept of attributes is also something we'll be covering maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But as of now, just understand this language equals to English is just telling the browser that everything inside of this HTML code is in English language. Then you have a head tag, which is the header of your web page. Then you have a body tag, which is the body of your web page. Now we'll come to each of them individually, but let's start with what does the doc type HTML means. So it ensures that the browser makes a best effort to attempt the following relevant specifications rather than using a different mode. So every browser interprets your website or your files in a different way. We have seen Chrome's inspect. Now, how browser gets to know how does it have to interpret the file? So this doc type HTML is going to tell the browser that this is an HTML file, and all the tags written in the file, you need to interpret it using the HTML conventions. Then we have the HTML tag. It represents the root, or let's say the top level element of an HTML document. Again, it acts as a wrapper around the whole web page. This is the HTML and it is closing here after we have completed the web page. So your HTML tag acts as a wrapper, which will bind your whole web page content together, containing header and the body. Let's come over here. Now, the next one is the header tag. It contains the metadata of your HTML. So what does metadata mean? Let's go to it one by one. So there is a meta tag over here, which is setting the character set as UTF-8. Now, what is a character set? So in coding, we have different kind of character sets. You can also come over here and search more about it. One of them is ASCII characters. You might have studied this in any object oriented language, mainly C++ if you have studied. Then there is an ASCII character convention. Other than that, there is a UTF-8 character. So these are different types of character sets that are defined in programming, or let's say electrical communications, which is there to identify what kind of things are written. So we have a meta tag over here, which contains metadata related to the web page. Now, metadata is the data that the browser uses to interpret the whole page. So so first one is specifying the character set, the kind of characters that we are putting in the web page. Then we have another meta tag, which is giving the attributes of name as the viewport and content as this. Now, what is this? This helps us, or let's say this helps the browser in understanding what is the viewport of the website. Now, the viewport of the website is this part. So whatever let's say if I close my inspect window, so this is how the website looks like. This is the viewport of the website to expand through the whole browser length over here. As soon as I'll click on inspect, and you can see the content is shrinked on one side of the browser. But this is again how the viewport is shortened in this case. Since I have my inspect window open, the browser viewport is shortened, and this is how the content is behaving, or let's say adapting to the shortened viewport. So this is one metadata which browser uses to identify the area on which it needs to display the web page. This helps us majorly in cases where we want to make the websites responsive. So if you come over here, so this is a mobile view of the same website. So you can see the mobile view looks way different compared to the web version. So that metadata helps in adjusting this along with the code that we have written. Now coming over here, there is also a title tag. This title tag is this part. You can see I have Airbnb website open, but on the tab, the heading is written over here as Airbnb holiday rentals, right? This is the title of the web page. So if I'll save this, and let's say I type anything over here and I'll save. Now you remember I asked you to install an extension called Live Server, this one, the second one. If you'll install it in your VS Code, you will find an icon like this. You can click on it, then it will display this whole HTML in your browser. Let's come over here. Let me try to put this. We have it in the documents. One way of opening HTML code is by that. The second way is by clicking over here in your HTML file, and you can see it contains the file path where my file is located, and it is pulling that file from that location and displaying it in the web browser. This is the body that we type over here. This is the body that we typed, and this is the title. This is the document. So you can see the document is written over here. So title is in so title is always there in the header part of your web page, and it's always going to give you some kind of thing to be rendered upon in the tab. So instead of document, if I want to type code sprint and I'll save it and I come over here in my browser, as soon as I'll refresh it, you can see the changes here. The instead of document, it is now code sprint. The title is changed. To address this continuous refreshing of every change, we have that extension of live server. It just hosts your website in one of your port in the system, and it shows you live changes. So do not worry if you do not understand about what I just said about the hosting and all. It's not necessary for you to understand it right now, but later on we can deep dive into it. So this is your HTML page. This is your header part containing metadata, title, and the viewport length. So is this part clear to all of you? Just let me know.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Uh, if you have any kind of doubt, guys, please put it in the chat box. We can resolve as we go forward.
No doubt.
Okay. So let's come to the body part of the web page. So first section is the header section. The second section is your body section. Your body section contains everything that you want to display in your browser, like this whole white playground that you are able to see. This is your body content of your website. Here you can type as many things as you want and put your content, or let's say the structure of your website. And as soon as I'll refresh it, you can see the content is here. Now, since most of the times we do not have the final content and we still need to develop the projects, so there is a convention as lorem ipsum, which is just some gibberish text which just contains a lot of paragraphs, or let's say anything dummy text. You can assume it as dummy text, which is there to hold the space for the actual text when we are done with the whole project. So let's say I want, there is this lorem ipsum.io, which is the generator for the dummy text. Here are 5 paragraphs, and if I'll click on generate, it's going to generate 5 paragraphs. You can see the 5 paragraphs are generated. I'll copy it. I'll come over here. I'll put it in my body tag and I'll save. And let's come over to our web page and refresh it. So you can see the text is here. This all is just a dummy text. So let's say if I have a requirement for having 5 paragraphs, which I do not have the actual content right now with me before starting the project, then I can use the dummy content to take the space and visualize how it's going to look, and later on replace it with the actual content. This is again, uh, I'll share it over here. So this is your body tag. It is going to contain everything that your web page is going to show to the user, from your headings to your paragraphs to your forms to your JavaScript integrations, everything. So this is the boilerplate of your HTML code. And if we come over here, body, it represents the content of the HTML document. So is the boilerplate code clear to all of you? Okay, great. So, do you guys want me to continue with the with some of the basic tags, or we can cover them tomorrow also if it's getting too much? I don't want you guys to feel cluttered. So it's already a little bit difficult for beginners to understand how HTML is and how the things are. What if I want to align the body text in a certain way? Yes, there are a lot of alignment options, so we'll come to them. They are also present in HTML, and we can also do that using CSS as a styling option. So for example, if I just have to show you, uh, let's take this content. There is a section tag over here. Instead of section, let's take an article tag. Text align. It's not coming over here as an attribute, but let's say if I want to style it, so I can have a style component which can say text align center. If I just save and I'll come up over here, so this text is now center in the center of the web page. You can see there is space from the left hand side. If I want it to be completely right aligned, I can write. Now this style is just a component in CSS. We'll come to that. This is something we are going to cover in the next lectures, but I just wanted to show you that yes, we can do that. We can do the text aligning, and there are many more different options that we can play around. We can also make the text bold. We can also make the text italics, underline, and all different kind of text decorations that you can think. We can also give different font size, different font weight, and different kind of ways of how we want the font to be represented, whether you want it to be a Arial font like this message font, or you want it in a different way, you want it capitalized. Everything is being sorted. So yes, we can do that. Now, coming back to my question, guys, do you want me to go ahead with the tags, or is it too much for today? So we can, end it over here and start with the tags tomorrow.
We'll end it, ma'am.
Sorry, can you repeat?
We'll end it here, ma'am. We'll continue tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, guys. So the things that we have covered today is the analogy of your website with your house, so that you understand, how different modules or different components are linked together to make the website. Then we also covered the history of HTML, which is, just theoretical. It's good to know, but it's not going to help you land jobs. And then we covered the HTML boilerplate and the type of tags in HTML. Okay. Now I'll be sharing you the link of your attendance. Just give me 1 second. I'll reshare my screen. Meanwhile, if you have any kind of doubts till now, please put it in the chat box, or please unmute yourself. We can have a discussion around the same. Let me open the link. Hello, I'll call you back. Bye. Where is the link? Okay. So as of now, I don't have the attendance link. Guys, just wait for 5 minutes. I'll ask the team to send me the attendance link. If you have any doubts, please put it in the chat box, or you can meanwhile start making your own HTML index.html file and play around with the titles and your body tag. Meanwhile, let me close the recording for today's session. Uh, I'll also share